Hey guys, I wanted to go ahead and do another Golf Clash video for you here. My last video for my bunker and rough iron play. The wind guide. I had my landscape app running, and I think it caused some of my shots to be a little wonky. I didn't need to have the screen rotating like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit that video and then just redo it here again for kind of a revised guide here. So this is like 2.0 basically, the enhanced version. It's going to be very similar shot discussion of what I did last time. You kind of see how my clubs are here. You see my rough iron, it's about 100 accuracy, but it doesn't quite have full max power, which means it's not getting full distance up in the air. And you're seeing that the loss of power is going to change kind of the way that I use the ring system, because it's like 12 yards shorter than my other club. So the number that I like to use kind of for max power for that on this device, I like to use about 2.0. I haven't really tinkered with it too much to figure out how accurate that is. I know it's relatively close to 2.0. I just don't know how close it is to 2.0. But I know it gets me in the ballpark, and I can still make some shots with using the 2.0 number. But for my main account, I like to use like a 1.8 for my adjustment. And then for Spitfire, you see my accuracies 65 here. Now typically that would be like 1.7 per ring, but you can just ignore that number. It's not right. I don't know what it is. I think it's more in maybe 2.25, 2.5, somewhere in there. Now my accuracy for my you can't really go off the ring system for these, and that's kind of why I'm putting together this video, is to kind of give you like 100% accuracy. So it's supposed to be 1 per ring, but like I said, it plays more like 2 for my Nirvana, and for this one it doesn't play like 1.7. It's probably closer to like 2.5, 2.25. Let's use 2.25. I think it sounds probably a little bit more accurate, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But that's what I'm going to go with here. And if I get the opportunity to kind of test that out, I'll take advantage of that and see if I'm pretty close. The best way for you to be able to tell if that's close or not is if you get a wind that's close to that, or any wind, for example. Say you get a shot that's right at max distance, and you were to go ahead and hit a shot, go for the dunk, for example. If you saw you missed by a quarter ring, I mean, it might not be spot on, but let's just say I used 2.25 as my adjustment, and I had a win that was 2.5, and I went and just played 1 full ring just to see what would happen. And then if I just analyzed kind of where it landed, I could go off that number and say, oh well, I overplayed it. So that should just tell you that it's less than that. So you can just kind of figure it out that way. It's kind of more or less the way that I do it. Is I'll hit perfect balls and I'll play the wind. Problem is, Tour 4 is kind of the worst tour to get a good sense. So if you're going to do this, I don't recommend doing it on Tour 4. Pretty much any other tour. So first, speaking of which, since any other tour is a better tour, I'm just going to go ahead here and I'm going to try to go to another tour and try to just match myself. So let's take, for example, Tour 6. A lot of guys say, problems on Tour 6, so I'm just going to, for this video, for the sake of this video, what I'm doing is on my other device, I'm just basically going to simultaneously hit this at the same time, and hopefully, since we're about the same trophies, that they'll match us, since we're both probably the only two guys around 5,000 looking for a game in Tour 6 right now. So that's kind of the theory. Of course, it doesn't always work. You saw I let it go for about 10 seconds there. I'm just going to go ahead and clear out my apps and come back in here. Still recording, good to go. I'm going to come back in Golf Clash, try it one more time. If it doesn't seem like it wants to match me, then we're going to have to go down to one of the lower tours. So I feel like it's actually probably a little bit better for me to maybe try Tour 3 for the video. I think Tour 4 is kind of a wonky tour. All the bounces, I kind of talked about this in my other video, is that all the bounces are just kind of jacked up. It's the worst tour in terms of, oh crap, hit the wrong button. I was trying to scroll and it pressed. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. I'm going to retry. We're going to try to match Tour 6, and again, like I said, on both devices, I'm just going to try to, press the button at the same time, and hopefully they match us. If they don't, we are probably going to, let's do Tour 3 for this video. I think it'll be better than Tour 4. I don't think Tour 4 makes us the best video, to be honest with you. Again, I let it go about 10 seconds, nothing, so it just seems like it's probably not going to let us match, which is okay. So I'll just go ahead and send myself an invite. The only problem with doing, Tour 3 is the wind's not going to be as small, so you can't see winds on a mega scale. So that's a little disappointing, because I'd really like to give you guys like a best estimation. So what I'm basically going to do here is I'm just going to send myself an invite. For whatever reason, that's not even coming through. I wonder if that has something to do with, or something's wrong with this device right now. It's not even coming through. I sent the invite, it didn't come through, so that might have to do with something with how we're not matching. There it is. Comes on immediately as soon as I log on. So we're going to try Tour 3 now. For this video, I think it's going to be a better tour to give you guys a general sense, because you don't have to worry about jacked up bounces. This is back when they were still making courses relatively well. They'd make smooth courses as opposed to, why isn't this loading? Oh, jeez. Alright, which device is it that's getting caught up right now? Is it this one or is it the other one? So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh one of my phones. It doesn't look like it's this one. I'm going to go ahead and do the same trick with the other phone. See if it doesn't grab the game for us. I don't know why it's not grabbing the game for us. There it goes. So all I did is, what you saw me do on this device, I did on the other device, and that was enough to make it work. So I am going to basically just hit this up there in the rough. Quite a long ways. Make sure it's in the rough. So hopefully I can still go for the green from there. And then I'm going to try a similar trick for this one. I'm going to try to get it down here as far as possible. With this one, it's a little bit harder. I usually go about 2 full bullseyes of where I want it to land. So the wind's pointing that way. I'm going to go just a little touch more than 2 full bullseyes. And I'm guessing then I'm going to run this through the fairway. That's at least my goal. Okay, good. So it did run through. We get a couple shots here. Now let's see here what we have. I'm hoping this is enough. Oh, it's a little bit beyond max. So why don't we just, for this one, do the skip shot, because I'm going to have to go into too much power there, and that's going to get kind of annoying. Actually, you know what? It's not that much. Nah. Let's do this for argument's sake. So there's max. For example, this is my 1.8 per ring number. I'm going to need to come in on that at least 3 rings to make, which is 5.4, and the wind's 4.7. So I need to come in at least that far. A great ball right. So let me try to expand on what I was just talking about there. Is if I'm at 1.8 per ring, and I'm coming in a little bit, that means it might push to, say, 2.0 per ring. If I go 3 rings, that's 6 miles per hour that I've already accounted for, but I only needed to count for 4.7. So that means I went enough. So at 3 rings, it's enough. If you want to come back a little bit more to be safe, feel free to do that. But that gets you in the ballpark of where you need to be. And right here, you see this is max. And again, I'm going to come in just a little bit on max. So let's say, for example, I need to play 2.5 per ring here. And I am extremely running out of time. I'm going to try to just do this at my 2.5 number that I mentioned real quick. I did hit perfect ball. I think you're going to see that it's relatively spot on. It was basically doing what the shot trail. I didn't have enough time to put enough topspin to get that going towards the hole, but you could see that it was basically right on line, and it just came up short. So again, I use the same trick here with my M-bringer. So with my M-bringer, for example, this club is 1.0 ring. So here's 1 per ring. If I cut it in half, it goes to 2.0 per ring. If I cut it in half again, I'm at 4 per ring here. And as you can see, somewhere where I'm going to play this shot is somewhere in 8 per ring here. And this is one of the reasons that you see so many guys, you know, is they'll play this shot. You only need to go 1 ring for every 8 miles per hour here. My shot is only 1 point, so you don't even have to move that thing. All you have to do is hit it on that spot and you are good to go. Even if it was an 8, you just have to move it 1 ring. But okay, so when you're looking at 1 ring though, in terms of how close I was to the ball, even if I great ball shank it or don't adjust, chances are you're close enough that you don't even need to adjust. As you could see, when I pulled it back, I was within an 1/8 of a club there. 1/8 of max distance. And you could see how small the bullseye was. It was very small. So, you know, you have a large tolerance there. You could great ball it oh, geez. Here's the problem with what I just did. So you know that trick that I used to jumpstart this game? It doesn't let you rematch when you do it, because it basically, you know, makes you out of sync with the game. So I'm going to have to re-invite myself. But that error should be clear. So whatever was causing us to not link up before should be clear. So I'm just going to go ahead and re-invite myself. And this time I should see it. And here it comes. It's popping up. You're not seeing this, but it is popping up for me. Of course, I've readied up. And this time it should link us up. We should be good to go. I'll get the rematch button. That's the only problem with that trick that I use. So, you know, I got to be very mindful when I'm doing that playing with friends. Because it'll basically, you know, kicked me out of the game, which is unfortunate. So I am going to, for this shot, just kind of beat it up here. My plan is, I don't know if it's going to work, is to run this through the fairway. That's why I was trying to curl it left, because usually you curl it right to stay in the fairway. Curl it left, goes in the rough. I won't have to lay up with this club. I'll be able to just go at it from there and kind of talk about what I've been mentioning a little bit. I'll be able to just go right for this one. I'm going to have to do a layup to do that. So why don't I just go ahead and just already just start off right here. I'll just hit it here, and then I'll just lay it up to somewhere. And let's start talking a little bit about this system that I've been implementing here in this video, and what I've been starting to do to play my wind. It puts numbers to things. You know, it gives you kind of a rough idea. So if this was this is the Nirvana 8, where I play about 1.8 per ring on this. So if this is my 1.8, if I go to half distance, which is almost where my shot's going to be, this is about 3.6 per ring. And as you're seeing, 3.4, 3.6, we're right in the thick of it here. So I am just going to go ahead and play this one full ring and just kind of see how spot on I am. And hopefully I get perfect ball here. Perfect ball, one ring, and you're seeing it's right on, just a little off. Now this green can be a little funky, so I'm not saying that you know, it was necessarily my correction that's wrong. It might have to do about you know, just this green being a little funny. So this is one of those new holes. I mean, you could see, just look at the fairway. There's all those crazy bumps. Am I in the fairway? Yeah, this is fairway. I'm gonna go over here, play from a different distance for my next shot. So it's hard to say, and that's why I'd like to avoid all these new holes altogether, because they just started doing this thing where the holes are like this. It's unfortunate. You know, I don't like the fact that it is the way that it is, because it brings this whole like luck factor into making shots, and it just kind of makes things a little bit more annoying. I'd rather them have, you know, a more skilled shot be able to win, as opposed to something that seems more lucky. So with this is a Nirvana 5. I like to play about 2.0 per. So if there's 2, here's my half distance, which is about 4 per ring. And say I halved it again, this would be 8 per ring. As you can see, you know, I'm going to play at least 6, like maybe right around 6 per ring. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep, you know, to where if I'm bouncing on the fairway, 6 per ring, not even a full ring. Of course, I didn't even get it off. I don't know why I'm talking so much and not shooting. Let's just do it again. Nevertheless, I'm not too worried about it on that hole. It's really hard to be precise on that, especially where I was aiming. It wasn't a very good landing zone where I was landing, so because there was like a hill there. These are the holes that I like. These are the ones, because you see, you know, the fairway, it's not jacked up. I don't know why they started doing that. It's really frustrates me. It literally almost makes me want to just put the game down, because they're just getting to a point that it's just getting so ridiculous to play year-round. Like, who wants to play around with all those bumps on there? Seriously, it's not fun. I would rather them have, you know, the course be fluid like this, more realistic with the way the bounces are. but instead of having all those crazy weird bumps, just make the, narrow the fairways up, kind of like they did on the last one. They could, make it to where it still, takes a extremely skillful shot to roll it off those cliffs, like those little fake rocks that they put in there. Like make it to where you have to just hit like a perfect executed skill shot to get, but for whatever reason, I mean, they just don't do that. So again, I'll play roughly 2 1/4 here, full bullseyes. I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive with the aim here. And as you can see, too aggressive. I tried to get it right in that perfect landing zone, and I'm going to have to lay up with that one. So we're going to have to lay up here, couple different spots here. I should have just blew it up over in this rough here to begin with. But that's okay. The wind's only 2.8. Maybe next on third shot we'll have better than 2.8, and I'll actually be able to show you guys something. It makes more sense to be doing this for like 5 winds. Again, this can be, a little bit of a challenge too, with the way that the mounds on this hole are. In fact, this is going to be the best angle. If I come over here, coming into the green for my next shot will be the most consistent. But it still won't be perfect. But it goes away from that slope as much as possible. And of course, the wind's even worse this time. But let me just talk about the method. So here's my number that would be, for example, 2.0. And as you see, it's kind of pushing max club here. This would be, 4.0. So it's somewhere in between 2 and 4 per ring is what you should be playing here. And, I'm more towards the 2.0 number. So maybe you play 2.4 per ring, for example. Actually, now I'm going to, look at this, I'm coming in even more. So maybe I'm coming, even more than that. And I need to go just ever so slightly. Of course, I'm not even close to great ball, running out of time again. So this is really kind of annoying thing because I'm not playing fast enough. I'm just too busy talking and not concentrating. So let me try to, work through my thoughts a little bit better. And this is only a 1 wind. I don't even know why I'm even discussing all this on a 1 wind, but it's more important that you can get the method down. So here you see this is my 1.8 number. Here's the 3.6 number. Here's, 7.2, somewhere in there. You see I'll come up from that just a little bit. So maybe call this like a 6.0. If I wanted to play this spot right here, it's a little, consistent. And I need to play about 6 per ring here. The wind is 1, so I'm going to go 1/6 of a ring, whatever that looks like. Perfect ball. Nothing but cup. So that's kind of the method that I've been using. You see quite a bit of rough shots I've done so far. So maybe I'll try to go to sand shots next. And the only 3 clubs where you don't have, a min distance. So you got the sand wedge, you got the rough iron, and you got the wedge. So I'm going to link the wedge into this video as well because it follows the same principle. And again, all these are just estimations. Even the ring system in itself is an estimation. It's not an exact science because when you talk about, shot arc and wind, all that follows a quadratic model. All this that we're discussing follows a linear model. Basically what that means is if you want to, half wind, well, then you go half the rings. It's all just kind of an estimation. Now, what's nice about the linear model that we use is it actually follows a very good approximation. It's obviously not perfect. Ball flight doesn't follow that model, but it's nice that it's a method that is actually consistent to where it's actually, a reasonable estimation. That's what's good about this that we're using. So the whole ring system follows, this estimation. And so everything that guys have been trying to teach you over the last few years, it's all just an estimation. But thankfully, it's a rather relatively good estimation. So that's the good news. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hook this one into the trees here. We'll do more or less the same. I think that's a good place to play from this hole in order to talk about this a little bit more. And then this other one, with this other one, I'm just going to blow it in a bunker somewhere. There's no good bunkers here. That's the only problem. There's no good bunkers on this hole. Oh boy, that might hit the rough. Now if that hits the rough, I might not be in the bunker. Oh my goodness. That's alright. This is not a very good hole to talk ring system with from the bunker, let me tell you. So let's just, for instance, say I want to aim there. So here is going to be my 1.8, 3.6, 7.2, and it looks like I'm actually relatively close on the 7.2 number. Relatively close. So maybe I just use that 7.2 number, play it off this surface. For a 2.2 wind, that's going to be 1/3 of a ring. Not very much. I'm going to go ever so slightly here. Perfect ball. Looks like I may have gone too much. Just maybe. But it also could be, just the way that it bounced. That's the one thing about aiming for those surfaces. They're not the most smooth there. As you see, I'm pushing max here. Let me just go ahead and dump this right here in this bunker. I'm hoping that this next one will be pushing max again, but maybe I'm inside max. That's kind of my goal. So we can talk bunker. So now that we have more of a max bunker shot, let's see if I'm inside max here. I am inside max. So you wanted to talk ring system? Here's a great tool for trying to get it down. Of course, it's going to rely on actually hitting a perfect ball, but you want to talk ring system and whether or not. So let's just say hypothetically we want to use 2.5 as our wind adjustment. Well, 1.7 is maybe 80% of that, and as you can see, I'm kind of at about the 80%. It looks like elevation is relatively close. Way off. Running out of time, and just so again, it's going to take quite a bit of practicing. I didn't even get enough time to even set or even think, so I was just way off on my timing there. That's kind of what happens when you're focused too much on doing the calculation. Like I was trying to think, like I had to do that quick math in my head, and it's just like, it's brutal. Like I wasn't even sure if I was estimating correctly. It's probably better to just put it on one ring and then just try to analyze. You can pause the video, you can do whatever you need to do in the end, and you can go back to your video and then just say, I played one ring here, it landed here, and then basically just take that spot and then basically kind of superimpose it over your ring from your setup, and then just kind of see how close it was to that actual number. It's probably your best way to go about doing that. Now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get it up towards that right bunker, up towards max club here. I'm going to try to get it because that's the only way, I think the only way that, that's not going to be good enough. Yeah, the only way that I wouldn't be able to lay up is if I would have hit that perfect and probably got it in the right bunker. Otherwise, I'm going to have to lay up. So let me put one of these over in this bunker over here, and then maybe I'll play the other one to wedge distance. So we can talk about wedge distance a little bit too. Now it's not going to follow that 4.7 wind. That's the only problem. It's a pretty nice wind. Oh, shoot, I might have to actually concentrate on this. This is not going to be the easiest of shots here. Well, nah, it'll be okay. I'll just backspin it some. Just keep it more towards max club here. Keep it away from the hole as much as possible. And let's see if we can't talk about a couple things here. So first things first, they restricted some of our wind. So here would be, say, 2 1/4 from a sand. And we'll call this, 4 1/2, somewhere like that. And then, half of 4 1/2 is 9. So at here, I'm about 9 per ring. And it looks like, this fringe is kind of a decent landing zone. Like right here, like right on the top face here. And it's roughly around 9 per ring here, more or less. So again, 1/3 a ring, give or take. Super small adjustment here. Perfect ball. Just ever so slightly off. And, it probably more than anything has to do with my landing zone that I'm picked. Like I'm picking a landing zone which is basically a face of a fringe. Not the smartest thing in the world, but you really don't have a lot of options on this hole. So let me go to max club here. Let's just say, this is pushing max here. Why don't we just go for this dunk so we can talk about this. So here's 1 per ring here. Half, we're going to call 2 per ring. It's right in between there. So let's call this 1.5 per ring. So if I'm at 1.5 per ring, let me go a little bit inside 3 rings here. Put 3 rings, or a little bit less right in the center of the hole. Go for perfect ball. And you're seeing right on the pin. So that's a nice indicator of kind of how to play those. It was about a 75% shot. So at 75%, we're going to call that 1.5 per ring with this club. And it was more or less, kind of spot on there. So let's see if I can't roll one of these into this. That's not going to be a very good bunker. Crap. Looks like I might have to lay up here. with a second shot. I'll try my best to get this going towards the right rough, but I might not be able to pull this off. We'll see. Yep, it's gonna hit the fairway. I think with this other one, with a puck 7, I should be able to send this into, I should be able to send it through this fairway pretty easily. So I'll just try for that. Again, I'll do kind of the same approach here. I do about 2.5 maybe. In fact, this will 100% curl take care of any doubt whether or not this is staying in the fairway. This is going to be way off the fairway. So there, we're seeing it up there, and I should be able to, be inside max club from there, I think. And with this one, why don't I just go ahead and I'll dump it to this part of the bunker, and hopefully for my next shot they'll give me a little bit more wind than a 3-2, just so we can actually see some half decent winds here. Maybe they'll give me a 5. It'd be nice. So what I'm going to use as my target is more, good, this is right at max too. This is where I want to, put my club, because it's, if you can see, it's kind of where the fairway is kind of the best. So what I'll do here, and you're seeing it's right at max. This is the 1.8 number that we've been discussing. So I'm going to make sure that that gets to the hole, that 1.8 number that I was just mentioning. And I'm pulling back from that. So 2.5, it's going to need to come back more than a ring, but barely. Not very much more than a ring. So I'll just pull it back, just, ring and a quarter, somewhere in there. Only got a great ball. That's going to push it out to the right, unfortunately, but and again, that'll basically cause it to go about 2 yards right. At least, plus you never know, because 2 yards right of there, it might start to shoot off to the right even more. So you got to consider that as well. That's why perfect ball is so important. And again, let's say I'm pushing max. Let me just go for this again. So let's say, this is 90% of max here. Which, if 2.5 is accurate, let's just say 2.9 would be probably pretty spot on here. So if this lands very close to the hole, extremely close, maybe 2.5 is the number. Because it would probably be at about 90% club, it would probably be about that. And I did hit perfect ball, but what I'm assuming is that, yes, and look, it's very right there. So let's think about this. That was very right. So maybe this number isn't even that close at all. Well, I was assuming it wasn't 2.5 anyway, because I was thinking that it was, 2.25 was more spot on. But maybe it's not even 2. I'm trying to think of how much I moved. If you wanted to, superimpose the two images, like I said, you could pause this video, take a screenshot of where I was aiming, use that bullseye, and then you take, pause it, take another screenshot of the shot that I hit after, and where it landed, and then you could just try to, position the two together and just try to figure out, or you could Photoshop my target back onto that photo or something. The only problem is you'd have to figure out if the bullseyes were similar, like if I was zoomed in to about the same point on both, which it may or may not be, but it would give you a real indication. But it basically goes to show you there that 2.5 is probably not a good estimation at all. It might even be, 2.1 might be a better estimation there. Because if I went one full ring and it seemed like I was off at least half a ring, at least, I'll just lay up, or no, we'll do the wedge shot. We'll do a dunk from there or something. That'll be perfect. So we can talk about that a little bit again. And with this one, let me just go in this back bunker over here. Never been there. I've been in the other bunker. I don't think I've ever been in this one. And then again, this is going to be to a downhill target, so to go a little bit in the air, a little bit longer. Oh, this is good. I like this. 4 wind. So let's size this up. Here is full club. This is 1 per ring. Here's half club. Here's 2-point ring. 2 per ring. Now, it is a little bit more, but for whatever reason, especially once wind starts going, since the wedge is so high, it ends up, you know, kind of overplaying. So for example, I just went above, which you would consider, you know, 2 per ring, and you saw I came back in. So, oh shoot, I don't think that's going to make me miss, but I was not trying to do that. So what I was saying is, at the half distance I came back to, you would expect that to be 2.0 per ring. But then I went back up, which would, you know, go more towards the 1.7, 1.5, somewhere in there. Well, but I still went 2.0 rings because, you know, especially once the wind gets going kind of max, it seems to kind of take off a little bit. And again, this will be to a down, so let's call this a wash here, and just say, you know, I'm pulling in for max, but it's also downhill. So let's just say, you know, just for simplicity's sake, that, you know, this is still going to be, you know, 2 per ring. So I'll go like 2 rings here. And again, super slow because I didn't have enough time to set power and concentrate on the bullseye. Sometimes I can do it every once in a while, but I usually can't concentrate on whether or not I'm pulling it back, and I just watch the shot arrow when I only get 1 pass. Usually I'll just take my eyes off the bullseye and won't, but there I was looking at whether or not I was in the center, and then doing that didn't give me enough time to make sure that I could still hit perfect ball, so I was very slow to react. Sometimes I'm better than others at doing that. So let's go ahead and blow this through the fairway by a great margin. So if I go 2 bullseyes here, use my full curl, assuming with that wind I'm not going to hit the rough, but then did hit the rough, so this is probably going to hit the fairway. I was hoping that I just missed that speck of rough, and I didn't. So now I'm going to have to lay up. I think I can get this. So here's there, 2 full bullseyes right there. So this should roll through the fairway, I think. Oh wow, I hit the rough again. Just ever so slightly, not going quite enough on both. And it was because the wind was pointing left. I was hoping that it was gonna, you know, help it out, and then it didn't. So again, I'm going to, let's just go over here for 1. Don't have to really focus on that too much. We'll try to do that from there. And usually I go for the dunk on this hole. I'm going to show you that. So we'll try to size that up, see if we can't get it relatively close. And then here, let's just go over here. We might also go for the dunk on this one, depending on the way the green bounces look. I usually go for the dunk on this hole no matter what, because the green's so jacked on the very front edge. Just go for the dunk. So we might go for 2 dunks here. So again, let's go to full just to try to size this up. So here is 1.8, 3.6, 7.2, somewhere in that. So let's just say where I am, especially going to a higher elevation, it won't be as high in the air, which is going to lower my number. So, you know, I'm not going to have to go very much here. Let's say my adjustment's supposed to be 7. I'll go half a ring. 3.7, somewhere in there. Try to concentrate on getting my bullseye right in the center there. Ooh, and it wasn't quite enough. I probably needed, 60% of a ring. I was off by probably 10% there. So not very much, but just enough to make me miss. So again, here's full. Oh, and on this is 1.4 on this club because my accuracy's not good enough yet. So here's 1.4, which will make this about 2.8. So this is 2.8, and we're coming back in from that number. Let's say this is 2.25, for example. So I might just go outside a ring here. And you see, there's starting to get enough tolerance that I probably need perfect ball here. So it's perfect ball if I want to make it. If I miss perfect ball, I won't. Because you could see that I didn't pull it back far enough. So I don't know if I was in the center there of my bullseye. Whatever, I didn't have it pulled back far enough. Whether it was where I released, or if it was that I just didn't line it up and actually put it, if I didn't aim correctly. But one of the two are true. I just don't know which one. I think I just missed that putt. Which is okay. Somebody had to miss it, but I wasn't trying to. I was just going to let him have it, and then I just released early. But now I'm going to let him have it instead. So let's do a couple more. Let me see where I'm pushing. I'm pushing 50 minutes here. Yeah, let's do a couple more. I don't think there's really anything else that I really want to touch on in this video. I've kind of covered a little bit of everything. I discussed most of what I wanted to talk about for this video. And again, this should be a much better video. It doesn't have a lot of the screen rotation and nonsense when I sit my phone down. I have to sit my one phone down to use my other, and then sometimes what you saw in that other video was it would switch it to landscape because of the way that I sat it down. I didn't even realize it was doing it. I should have never had that phone on landscape to begin with. That was my first mistake. So again, I'm going to try to spin this through the fairway like last time. And again, I should be good there at about 2 rings. This is down to a lower elevation, so usually this wind overplays. And of course, I'm going to push a great ball out to the right. I knew that the fairway opens up to the right, so I was trying to favor so here's the problem, is you saw me hit the rough there. You saw me hit the rough on my second bounce because of that great ball, but I was trying to bail out to the right. I knew I could go right because I knew the fairway opened up to the right. And here's the problem, is now I'm in the fairway, so I'm gonna have to lay up from there. I'm not even sure if I can blow through the fairway. I'm gonna have to get more aggressive with my line and miss more to the left. I don't usually like missing this. In fact, this might not even hit the fairway on the first hop because it's so into the wind. I might not even hit if I don't hit the fairway on this first hop, it's not even going to, oh, no, it's still good. Now what I was trying to make it do was run out on, yep, there it is. It ran out on the left side, just like I wanted. I should be able to go full ball here and do it off a skip shot. So that'll be good. I'll be able to show you guys a skip shot. For this other one, let's just put it here. In fact, with a two wind, I'm not even, I don't even really care if, but here's the problem. If I lay up with this other one, I might get even smaller than 2 wind on the next one. You just never know. But I could just lay this up and, oh, there's a 2.9. Oh, look, it's just close enough to actually go max here. So this might be a good thing. This could be a very good thing. Because what have I been using? 2.0, right? So let's say that's 2.0. So 2/3 of a ring. Here's the problem. Like, actually estimating 2/3 of a ring can be very challenging. So I'm going to try my best. Oh, jeez. I felt like the screen started going a little laggy, and then I jumped the gun because the screen kind of lagged on me. I don't usually jump the gun by 2 rings, but it just felt like it wasn't very fluid there, and so I was early on my timing. I'm not usually early by 2. I usually be early by 1 if I'm early. So let's talk about this. Here I am at max. This is 1.8, 3.6. So we know we're somewhere in between there. Call it 2.75. Oh, look, that's almost about where I need to be anyway. So maybe, just try to go 1 ring, 1 full ring might be. And what I like to do when it's into the wind is I'll go just a little bit farther than I need to. So see how it's going past the hole? And I'll do that because going into the wind, it might change your trajectory here. I'm going to have to rush this one. Got it off just in the nick of time. And it's just too much. Just barely. Ever so slightly. But that just kind of shows you how critical perfect ball is. I mean, you see the one go perfect ball. You see the one 2 rings over. And look at the difference in the shots. It's just crazy. So again, just trying to rush through this. Only one of them needs to make it. I don't care if it's that one or this one. It's not important. So I was just kind of rushing that one. No big deal. Who has it? Oh geez, that's gonna go in. Crap! I just pulled it back super quick, but it was pulled back just to the right. This is a waste of time. Well, let's go through a shootout for you guys. I guess I'll just take this seriously. Well, relatively seriously. I'm probably gonna do a joke shot, but so this is kind of the shot that I do just when I'm messing around. Of course, Thorn, that's actually going to be a good shot for it. Oh, wow. So you're seeing there's not much room for error here. Wow, this is going to be literally almost impossible. So I need to try to find out what 1 mile per hour is, which is like with a Thorn, it's half a ring. Ah, great ball. Well, this is going to be a winner. Ah, geez. Not as nearly bad as I thought it was going to be. Might have something to do with not being able to adjust that for crap because I was so close. Oh, this horn's going to be even worse. Right towards max Hornet. And why is Hornet going to be even worse? Because the thing's even smaller. I need to go literally a ring. So, and as you could see, rotating the screen, it was very challenging. I'm going to try it this way. I think I might be able to actually successfully do it like this a little bit better. And you know, it's kind of a serious shot, but not really, because you know you can still make it like this. But it's just kind of a joke shot because it's such an easy shot the other way. I don't even, you don't even need you don't need top spin. You know, all you need to do is just hit it. So if you go line it up on the fairway, no top spin, no nothing, on tour 3, and you just play the natural slope, it just funnels in most of the time. That's why it's really a joke shot, because it's overcomplicating the shot. Alrighty, this should be a good hole to hit it in the rough. Should be relatively easy. I am going to do it with try to miss on the left with the 1. Now, the reason that I'm not using top spin here is because I don't want it to, and you see it didn't even get up in there to the rough. I'll put one guy at a wedge, I'll put the other in the rough. But the reason that I wasn't going top spin there is because the out of bounds is so close on this hole. I'm sure some of you have probably actually hit it. I know I have. It's very rare anymore that I hit it, but I used to hit it with like a Pok 2s and stuff like that. Well, the goal of that was to get a pitch out of it, but we'll let the other guy pitch. So one guy from the rough there, one guy from the fairway. And of course, 4.0. That would have been perfect to play a nice little half shot there. Not meant to be, I guess. We'll do it with this one. And again, we'll kind of just discuss how minute of wind play that you have to play on something like this. So first off, you can already see I'm probably going to go with a relatively full. So I'm just going to set my spin real quick. And you see this is a 1.8 number I was talking about. Here's a 3.6. Here's the 7.2-ish, somewhere in there. So if I'm coming back from there, and here's like 14, call this 10 something, for example. So 10 something per ring. Just kind of says how little you have to go here. I'm going to go half a ring, probably relatively close to half a ring. And just misses. So you can say, you know, if you want to see why, you know, some of you guys or whoever misses shots, is they'll overplay that wind, and there right there is case in point. It was 4.5 miles per hour. You saw me go half a ring, and it was too much. So that's kind of the reason that I'm putting out this tutorial, and it just kind of basically summarizes, because you know, so many guys I see on shots like that, they'll overplay that. And again, this is for this it's like 1.4 here, so this will be 2.8. And I like to do this. I like to kind of go over this mound, so I'll do this and just go quick 2 rings here. I'm not even sure if I went enough. I should have just shanked it. That's probably gonna miss now. You had to do one or the other, which was curl it or shank it, and I did a curled shank. So you see how well that went. But again, I'm just trying to give you guys a general sense. It's not necessarily important that these go in. I'm just trying to basically develop a system for you guys to not be guessing, because I find myself even guessing. And one of the most important spots about talking about guessing, is on that last pitch that you just saw me do from the rough there. you're like, well, how close am I to the hole? How much do I realistically have to go here? And that last rough shot was a very great indicator, because I love that that's on this video, because it's going to show you guys. I mean, you saw how little I went on that rough shot. I hit it perfect, and then it was an overcorrection on a 4.5 wind, which is relatively strong. So, you know, just magnify that and say that was a 15 wind and we're playing tour 11 or whatever. I mean, you would have needed to go like one ring only on an 11. That's it. Just one ring. And so many times I'll see guys, you know, they'll overplay that wind on those mid distances. That was right getting to the very shortest where I see guys start to overplay wind. That was just in that situation where that starts to happen. It seems like for the most part, you know, guys are closer to the hole. They start to do it. They do it more correct when they're closer, but it gets to a certain distance where you're guessing so much, and that's kind of the purpose of this video, is to kind of help you guys out with that, and make it to where you don't have to guess so much. And you can just, you know, do something that's a little bit more putting numbers to things, making it a little bit more exact. So I'm going to do this with some curl here. Of course, I'm doing it really quick, and like I said, sometimes, like, so the time you just saw me hit perfect ball there, the times that I hit perfect ball there, and when I'm rushing, because you've seen me rush and be completely way off. The trick that I'm using is, instead, I'm not even looking at where I'm pulling it back. I'm just purely focusing on the bullseye and the ring, and that's it. And that's why I'm able to get that right, is as opposed to even looking at, you know, anything else, I'm not. And that's why I'm able to do that there. So where are we at? Okay, we're at an hour. We can go ahead and end this video. I wanted to give you guys about a full hour of some content here, and I wanted to go ahead and fix that last video that I had for you. Let's go ahead and well, it looks like nah, this is straight wind. This isn't even going to be a hard shot. So, you know, you see me pull it back. This is like a half club, which is about 3 per ring. So, and you don't really see my shot trail here, but I'm assuming that it's running out here. But you can see, since it's a straight wind, you know, guys don't really miss this. You only need to go one ring here. It's basically, you hit your perfect ball, you make it. You don't even need to adjust. It's technically, the only thing you need to do is hit perfect ball. That's it. I didn't do it. I missed the shot. I mean, that's literally what it comes down to. Because you're starting to get into that max distance, and this club is only, it's not my good, like, I might have made that on my main, but since it's 1.4 per ring, I missed by an extra 1/4 of a yard, or 40% of a yard, which is quite a bit with that shank. So, and again, you don't even have to, you wouldn't have even had to pull back that, because it's so small. You're only pulling back a ring. Like, you don't need to do that on a straight wind. It's basically just pulling it at the hole and you're in. So here, like I was mentioning before, this is my 1.8, 3.6, 7.2. Again, I'm right in that kind of 8 range. Why don't we just go ahead and go for this dunk here? So if I'm at 8, I only need to go a 1/4 ring here. Of course, you know, it's never going to go in on a great ball, no matter what. No matter what. The only guys you ever see bail out on shots like that are the guys that didn't play the wind right. And they'll get bailed out. Now, it's not usually on dunks that you'll see it. But actually, let me go ahead and I'll miss this, so I can still get the pitch, and we can talk about the pitch one more time, just in case they give me a half decent wind. And I'll just close the video with this, with a made shot here. And again, this one, and we did get a win. That's what I was hoping for. So let's talk about this a little bit. Because what I'll see is, guys get like 15 wind, for example, and then they'll overplay the dunk here. So let's talk about this. So here's 1.0, right? Here's 2.0, we'll call that. Here's 4.0. We're probably spot on right about 4.0 per ring. But look how small the rings are, right? So you only need to go one ring. You see how small they were? I barely had to move it to make this dunk. I mean, it's moving it right off the pin, that's it. Not to the edge of the cup. I'm just moving it right off the pin, that's it. That's how much a 5 wind plays there. So let's just say, for example, that was a 15 wind. You only need to go 4 rings. If you want to go back and rewind that video, 4 rings is still well within the cup there. So just keep that in mind. And that's kind of more or less it for this one. I kind of covered, for the most part, a little bit of everything in this video. I hope you guys can find this one a little bit more beneficial. I just want to discuss one thing, just in case. I don't really necessarily know, all the numbers for all the clubs. But let's just say, for example, let's just say you do have my club, which is, Spitfires. We kind of disproved, 2.5 in this video for being the ring number, which I'm glad about that, because I hit that one perfect ball and it was just like way off. Like it wasn't close. It was like a half ring off. And it was using like a 2.5 as my adjustment on a 2.9 wind, and it was probably like 90% club. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that if you have this club, 65% accuracy, let's just say for argument that you should be using 2.1 per ring. I'm not even sure if that's right or not, but I bet you it's a lot closer than what we used. So maybe 2.1 per ring. That's kind of what I'm going to just groove on for a while until I can disprove that number, because there's really no set number. It's not really based off the ring system, because you see the accuracy, it's 1.7 per ring, but I'm playing 2.1. So, and Nirvana's even worse. It's 100% accuracy, which would be 1 per ring, and I'm playing 2 per ring. That makes even less sense. But it has to do a little bit about trajectory. And the sand wedge, it goes higher. It goes higher than the rough iron does. So that's why you're seeing the rough iron number be so, the numbers are so much larger, like 2.0. Even though it's way more accurate, the numbers are very similar. And it's because of the trajectory that the two clubs come out. If you ever rotate sideways, you can see the sand wedge goes way high in the air. The rough iron goes way low, which means it doesn't get affected by wind as much in this game. I don't know why they wrote it like that. That they have different shot arcs, and the wedge follows more of the sand wedge way of playing. So you'll use the ring system, and the ring system is a total estimation. Like, it is way off for the wedge. I'm just kind of, for the simplicity of things, just trying to use 1.0 for my adjustment on my main, on the one that's 100% accuracy. But I bet you it's closer to 0.9. No, 0.8. I bet you it's closer to 0.8. I gotta be honest with you. Probably plays on the spot on 0.8. So 0.8, I might actually start doing that. I might just start using 0.8. It's between 0.8 and 0.85. And it's probably pretty spot on. If I were to actually use that for my ring adjustment for my wedge, which is 100% accuracy, it's probably more spot on. So, for example, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. If I have a 10 wind and it's a crosswind, for example, and I'm at max club, or very close to max club. And how much wind did I say? I think I said 10 wind. I will go at least 12 rings. And it has more to do about the ball trail, the trajectory, the wind pushing, especially from the side, changing the shot arc more than anything, like the post ball trail. So you have to overplay the wind. But I'm looking for an estimation system which will actually, put me kind of spot on. And like on a 10 wind, if I go 13 rings, it's pretty spot on. So whatever 10 divided by 13, let me just calculate that real quick. That's probably pretty more or less spot on for an adjustment. Let me pull this up real quick. .77. So right around 0.8 is probably spot on. Plain 0.8 on the wedge will probably get you a lot better of an estimation if you use that as. To be honest with you, I might start doing that myself. What I've been doing is I've just been saying, it's a 10 wind, I'm just going to add 3 rings. That's the method I've been using. But now that I actually sat down here and actually calculated it, I might actually just start using that number. Just use 0.8. And it's more so towards max club that you're going to see that, because that's where the shot arc is at its higher. Well, let me not necessarily say that, but half or more. But half still follows that model. Like I said, like if I had a 10 wind, for example, again, and I was at half distance, I'd still go 6 rings on a 5. Like, so half club would be 2 per ring, and the wind is 10, for example. Half of that would be 5. So it's saying that I should go 5 rings. Well, I still go 6, and it's pretty spot on. And again, that kind of, just reiterates that point, because it should be, 6.5 would be kind of spot on, 6.5. But again, in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking half club, you're talking about an accurate club, you're allowed to be off by a ring. Being off by a ring isn't a big deal. It usually goes in. But I think that'll help you hone in a little bit more on the accuracy. So let's say you have my clubs, for example, or have one version of them, whether it's my main. So if you have the Spitfire version, which is 100% accuracy, like my other account is, I have 100% accuracy on a Spit 6, and I think Spit 5 and 4, I think, are 90 accuracy. So I think I use on those 90 accuracy about 1.5, give or take. That's the number I like. I've never tested it. I've never tested it like you just saw me do here. But I know that number works pretty well. That I'll use 1.5. Oh, you know what? There's something that I didn't talk about in this video that I wanted to, which is if you go into max power. If you go in, using a power ball, it's going to make your ball come in a little bit higher, especially berserkers. So you need to change your numbers a little bit. Always, like I don't have an exact number for you, but I'd say about 20% less, 10 to 15% less. In fact, maybe just use whatever the ball is as your factor. So for example, this one is, I don't think 7's enough though. I'd probably go 10 for a Titan. So let's just say, for example, you have a Titan one and you're at max club. Well, the ball's traveling farther, it's traveling higher, so you need to play more wind. So I end up changing my numbers. So for example, on that Nirvana number that I was telling you, where I go 1.8 for a Titan, I'll use maybe like 1.65. For a Berserker, I'll use 1.5. And it just gets it a lot better. It gets it a lot closer. Now, I've never tested every single ball, and like I don't have like a spreadsheet to even tell you if this is even really extremely accurate, but I know it's a good it's a good approximation for you. That's all I know, is that it's a relative. It'll get you within a ring or two, which is nice. So, you know, for Titans, I use more of like a 1.65 for that Nirvana. 1.5. I usually use a 1.8, so I'll reduce it to a 1.5 on a Berserker. So on my sand wedge, if my sand wedge is usually 1.5, maybe I'll use 1.25 on a Titan, and I'll actually use like 1 per on a Berserker. If you now, this is only for the Spitfire, that's the super accurate one. It's not going to be nearly as much on the like if you have my 65% accuracy one here. So let's just say, for example, with the Titan, I've come down about 10%, maybe a little, yeah, about 10%. So instead of using the 2.1 that we just discussed, that I'm going to start basically using for my adjustment on this account. Well, it's so sucky because I'm only going to be using it for however many. Next time I get Spitfire, I'm not even going to be 165% accuracy anymore. But let's just say you are, for argument's sake. Use the 2.1 number, 10% less, give or take, 1.8, 1.85. It'll get you in the ballpark. And then Berserker, be even less than that, maybe 1.5 for a Berserker. Because again, that's making that shot arc so much higher. The ball's going higher in the air, it spends more time in the air. So you got to factor that into your win calculations. So you'll add in that percentage, and like I said, that just gives you kind of a rough estimation of how much to add on certain things. So just keep that in mind. Same thing for all your clubs, whether it's sniper or whatever. It's the same type of thing. So one of the biggest things that I end up winning in like my later matches, for example, Tour 10, Tour 11, Tour 9, all these later matches, guys will have these fancy balls on, and then the wind on their sniper will be, they're at max sniper here, but they're on max sniper on like a Titan, and the wind's 12 miles per hour, and then they say, oh, let me just go my 12 yards. Well, 12 yards isn't going to get you anything. It's probably more like 15 yards. You need to go 15 rings. So I'll see guys, and they'll just underplay it by so much that they'll be offline by 4 yards. So keep that in mind. Hopefully you find this video a little bit more helpful than the last one. I'm just going to go ahead and probably remove the other one, because I've still encompassed all the information in this one, but I have a much more fluid video, in my opinion, that when I sat my phone down in this one, I didn't have half the time the screen rotation, because I had landscape mode on, and this time you don't have that happening. So the video, it'll be a lot cleaner looking, and it's the same information. And again, if you have some more comments or concerns about some of these shots, I'm willing to kind of talk a little bit more. Just go ahead and feel free to comment on this video. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free to.